We have made the layers and we're ready to do some editing. And what we're going to do first off is we'll delete this stuff in the background. Now there's a number of ways to do that, but first I'm going to click on the magnifying glass over here and I'm going to zoom in, and if I hold down the Option key I can zoom back out. I can also drag and zoom in. If I drag up and down with the mouse, you can do that as well. But what I want to do is I want to get the stand out of the background here, and as I was saying, there's a couple different ways we can do this. Let's first start with the clone stamp tool. If I click over here, clone stamp tool is going to show you right here. It's demoing how you actually use this. It's pretty cool, but you can clone one part of the image to another. So I'm going to click on that. And the way it works is you hold down the Option key and click. It's going to clone from here to here. Okay? Now, I'm so glad this happened. See why it's red right here? Look over here. We're on the wrong layer. This is going to be the #1 problem you have with Photoshop, is that you're not actually on the layer you're trying to work on. So in this case, I want to make sure that I'm on the top layer to be able to do things. So I go like this and make sure I'm on the top layer, and now I'll do the clone stamp tool. So I'll click here, and now I can drag, and you can see it's pulling from the white area and it's cloning from here. So where the plus is, it's cloning from, and where the circle is, it's cloning to. And I could even, I'll Option click again over here, and I'll go like that. And I noticed over here there was a little goober over here. Option click, and then I paint. When I say Option click, that means I'm just holding down the Option key. The square bracket key, which is to the left of the P key, the left key, the left bracket is smaller, the right bracket is larger. So I can go like this, and I could do plus here, and I can make a bigger space. Now the problem is, and let me show you, edit, step backwards. This will continue to undo things. I want to be careful. If I go too big, it's going to spill over. But I can control what kind of, see how it's fuzzy on the edges here? If I want to change that, I come up here and I make the edges harder. And now you can see it's exactly, there's no fuzzy overlap. And so hard might be too far, but I'm just going to set that so I can show you. And I'll click here and I'll do Option click, because I want the white space. Okay, Option click. And you can see it's very clean. And I'll go Option click again. That was, I went too far. It cloned in. I click here, Option click, and I keep going like that. And I want you to notice that there's actually color down here. There's a shadow. Oops, let me undo that. I did Command Z to undo. Undo will undo the last click you did. So essentially I spend some time, Option click, 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 and I'm getting rid of even the shadow down here around his shoes. If I click here, I want to clean that up. Whoops. So I got to go up here, edit, step back. So this is going to take a little while, and this is where you learn on how patient you are. And we're just cleaning things up. So that is the clone stamp tool. Now if this is a pure white background, I could also use the paintbrush and I could just paint in. Now it paints with whatever is the foreground color. Right now it's red. If I click these little triangles, there's little arrows right here, I can flip-flop it so that, and I'm hitting the bracket key here to make it smaller, I could paint with white. So erase, whatever. When I was erasing, what I was doing is, or clone stamping, I was just cloning one part to the other. Erase actually, I'm sorry, painting is just painting white. And if I have a pure white background, it doesn't really matter. So I could be painting down here, this is white, and we do want the whole image to be pure white. Just because it looks really cool when you print it out on paper or you put it on social media or something like that, it'll stand out really well. Okay, one more tool. So what I tend to do is I use the clone stamp tool to get these things kind of really close and clean up. I'm using the white paintbrush now, and again I can make this bigger. Oh yeah, and I want this cord gone too. And you can see there's more on the edges of the photo. If I use the magnifying glass and I'm going to zoom out a little bit, you will see that it's not a pure white image, which means I'm now going to bring in my next tool. So let's zoom back out here so we can see the whole thing. I'm going to show you how to do the magic, the quick selection tool. Now, when I click on the white space and I start dragging around, it is grabbing stuff that's similar. Now, the problem is it grabbed his hand. Now, if I grab the magnifying glass and go in here, you will see that if I were to hit delete, and I'm going to hide this right here, if I hit delete, we would lose his arm. And I'm going to undo that. Now, the quick selection tool is really cool, but you can train it while you're working on it. So I'm going to go back to it. If I hold down the option key and click in an area I want back, so I'm holding down the option key right now, and I'm training it on what I want. I'm saying don't lose his hand, but now I can come over here and continue to drag over the white area. And I do this, and then I go back and go, okay, it got a little too ambitious. It chopped his feet off and stuff like that. And I can control some of the how sensitive it is, and there's a number of ways I can do that. And so if I double click on this, I'm going to select subject, mask, auto, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to go back in and hold down option and drag this back out to re-grab the guitar headstock and the tuning pegs. Again, this takes time. This is if I want to get rid of the pure white background. Now, I'm going to actually undo this by clicking on the rectangular marquee tool and just clicking anywhere. I'm just deselecting that because that was going to take a while. And I don't really need to cut out a lot of the stuff up here. This is all fine right. I'm just going to leave that. So I could go back to using the eraser tool or the paintbrush to paint in the white area. I'm going to do that a little bit more because I think that's going to go faster. So I'll click on the paintbrush, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And the edges should be pretty hard. There we go. So I'm going to go like this, and big swaths, I'm just getting rid of the lighter gray area. Same thing down here. I tend to just go around the edges and see if there's any gray sections. And I'll make this a little bit smaller. I'll come down here under the shoe. I can see a little bit there, and some here. And now I'm going to go in and I can get really close with that. And if I zoom in, I'm now going to go and fine tune around the leg. And because it's pure white and using the paintbrush, I can go smaller here, and I can just basically touch this up until I'm happy. That looks pretty good. I can go like this, and again, paintbrush, I can use the clone stamp tool, and again, make this smaller to fit right into this curve. Every time I click is when it's cutting, so you probably can't hear it, but I'm click, 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 and I click and I hold. Now let's use the selection tool again. If I go up here and click on this, again, make it a little bit smaller, and click here, it's going to grab all the stuff that's similar color. And then I hit the delete key. Now, you see the red because I'm deleting stuff. If I were to have a pure white background, that'd be great. But I can also, if I undo, I can select this, and I could use the paint bucket to fill in white. That's an option too. So I go like this, and the selected area gets filled in. If I just keep clicking, it'll just keep filling it in. So a number of different options. I'm going to deselect that, and I think using the paintbrush is going to be the easiest way right now. And just kind of getting closer. Again, if I go too far, I just undo, which is Command K, or I go to Edit and I step backwards. And the trick is trying to do this in some kind of a timely fashion, but not trying to rush too much. So I'll clean this up a little bit more. And zoomed out, people aren't going to notice the fine detail here. It won't be noticeable. If I double click on the magnifying glass, it takes me out to 100%. And I'm now going to hold down the Option key. And there's other keyboard shortcuts to zoom in and out faster. I always forget some of them. So now I'm going to show you, let's go over here, this light gray here. This might be a great idea for using the quick selection tool. To click here, it's finding, now I'll hold down Option and try to grab back this area. Okay, went too far. And all I'm doing is I'm holding down the Option key and I'm dragging over all the areas that it grabbed. And again, it starts to understand the sensitivity that I'm trying to control. Now I'll grab the paint bucket, and because white is selected right here, I'll fill in white, and voila. Okay, and I'm going to click on the rectangular marquee tool and just click anywhere to deselect. So, that can go faster. I'll go back to the paintbrush and go like this and fine tune. It's the kind of thing where you decide, the photography really helps make this easier, because if you did the studio work without a lot of shadows, this goes really well. If you didn't, it makes life a little more challenging. You got to spend more time fine tuning and tweaking, and that looks good. People aren't going to notice too much, but again, it's paying attention to detail. People notice people of quality about how much time they spend on little things like this. And I could keep going. I think I'm going to stop here. And yeah, that looks pretty good. And I could go over here and I keep working on that, but I'm just going to stop there. You get the idea. Ooh, yeah, I forgot about that. And I'll go like this. Yay. The nice thing about watching these videos, this is where you can fast forward and see, anytime you're watching speed painting or something like that, you can see what they're working on. And since I'm here, I'm just going to go like this. Again, I could go like this and say, whoosh, grab this area, and it does a pretty good job. And then I'll grab the paint bucket and just fill it in. And marquee tool. And then I just clean this up. I got a little more paintbrush action here. I'll go like that. You can see when I filled in the area, it gets a little more brittle, and you might not want that. So I just gotta clean up these edges a little bit, make it look a little more natural. Okay, clean that up. A little bit of shadow there. All right, and we'll double click on the magnifying glass, and hey, so there we are. I'm gonna hit save, and we'll just save this into our folder where we're saving our other work. The point is I'm just save often. There we go. And I have that. Now it's all cut out, clean, ready to go. Yay. So I'm going to make that video on just cleaning things up. And now we're ready to put the text at the top. Let's stop there.